Hello everybody, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. Everyone's talking about mental health, but how about mental health if you are disabled? It's like, how much more does it impact on you? That's what I'm going to be talking about this week. Roll on the intro. Mental health among disabled people is often misdiagnosed, it's overlooked and often left untreated. And a lot of it is mainly down to ignorance and actually lack of awareness to how disability actually ends up impacting on a person's mental health. If you're disabled, the facilities to treat the physical disability are great. You've been given a wheelchair, you probably get crutches. I'm talking about physical disabilities here, by the way. You probably get like a mobility allowance. Some people get cars, some people, housing allowances. But very little is actually done after that to actually safeguard that person's mental health. I've got a family friend. She's a highly qualified professional, right on top of her game. But she struggles every day with her mental health, mainly because she's undermined, and the reason she constantly feels undermined, or actually is undermined, is because she's in a wheelchair. Also, she finds it difficult to socialize, she finds it difficult to actually meet new people, because again, it's mainly because of that stigma. I personally myself have actually suffered from social anxiety, mainly because from when I was about 5, when I was initially paralysed and obviously then subsequently made a partial recovery, everywhere I went I was constantly stared at. I'd walk into a room, into a bar, a restaurant, and all eyes sometimes would actually be on me. So as a result, I started to suffer from social anxiety. Also, another issue of mine when growing up was my parents always told me that I'd actually never amount to anything. So I was always actually psychologically, it's almost like psychological abuse to a certain extent, because again, that kind of reinforced that message that I'm never going to do anything right in my life. Another issue I've got personally for me is because I wear calipers. I'm always constantly worried that my caliper is going to break. I'm worried that a bit of my trouser is actually going to get into the joint and it's going to result in a fall. Now, these tend to be the worst types of falls for me personally, because there's actually no way I can actually brace myself for the impact. So if I'm out in a social environment, that's something that's always playing in my mind. Am I going to fall? Am I going to fall? Over the weekend, I was at an event and I was actually using my wheelchair. And I mentioned at the event that I can walk, and someone actually said to me, so if you can walk, why are you in a wheelchair? I said, well, first of all, I can't walk very long distances, but for me to be completely confident and self-assured in some environments, I need to be in my wheelchair because I know I can't fall down. So therefore, I can actually just focus on enjoying myself and actually focus on what I'm doing. Going out socialising for some disabled people is a major issue. I've got a friend of mine who is now 62. 40 years ago, he walked into a bar and he got ridiculed because of the way he was walking. And interesting enough, since then, he would never go into a bar or restaurants on his own. Unfortunately, social isolation is prevalent within the disabled community. Very much like the elderly, a lot of disabled people feel marginalised. They feel socially isolated. Living with a disability can create significant barriers to social integration and actually making those connections. Here's an interesting fact. 1 in 2 non-disabled people do not think they've got anything in common with a disabled person. A further quarter of half of those people also believe that they need to avoid striking up a conversation with a disabled person for the fear of actually offending them or actually knowing what to say. Interesting enough, there actually are some people actually very good at hiding it, but but I know who you are and I know how to spot it. They make out that they're comfortable around you, but their body language, the way they look, you can tell that they're not 100% comfortable. Severe depression among newly disabled people is quite prevalent. To a certain extent, I feel I count myself lucky because I've been disabled since 5, so you kind of get used to it. But people that have been active all their life and then automatically find themselves disabled, find it very difficult to deal with. I've got a friend of mine that I used to play tennis with, and he's 6'4", he's a big strapping man, very active throughout his life, and he caught a virus and he lapsed into a coma. He was in a coma for about 3 weeks, and when he woke up, both his legs are gone. They had to amputate his legs in order to save his life. And one day he actually confided in me that he was actually thinking of killing himself, but he said the only thing that saved him was the fact that he learned how to play wheelchair tennis, and being among other disabled people, having that kind of community around him, and that's what saved his life. One thing about mental health is that I don't think there's actually any quick fix solution. It's something like everything in life you've got to work on, and also it affects people differently, so therefore there's actually no one solution. But here are some tips that I'm just going to leave you with. I'm no expert in this, but all I can say is things that I do from my perspective and things I've actually worked for other people as well. Number one is that you need to stay active. Find something that you enjoy. It could be a sport. I used to play wheelchair basketball, now I play tennis. Finding that sport kind of just gives you a connection to other disabled people. And again, you'll probably feel a lot more at ease in actually discussing some of the issues that you're having with other disabled people. Number 2, drink moderately. I know it's very difficult advice. Sometimes I do drink a bit too much sometimes. But again, be careful with how much you consume, because alcohol is a depressant. I can tell you one thing that I've noticed, that if I drink get my words right, okay, if I drink red wine, the next day I actually go down. I feel my mood go down, so I avoid red wine. So again, if you're finding that you're drinking and then the next day, not only have you got a hangover, which is bad, but also you're feeling pretty depressed, I say stop drinking. Find a peer group. Very similar to what I said in terms of actually finding a sport, but find a peer group. Find people that have got common interests with you. With the internet these days, it's so easy to find some sort of Facebook group or some sort of forum whereby you can actually discuss interests and actually have a conversation. So even if you're housebound, you can still have some sort of social internet connection, for want of a better word. Lastly, find someone to talk to. What I found in society, especially because I grew up, I spent about 10 years in Nigeria. In Nigeria, you've got to be physically strong, you've got to be mentally strong, and talking about your mental health issues, or or you're feeling a bit anxious, or you're not feeling, you're feeling a bit depressed, is not on. But I think that's the same in today's society anyway, isn't it? Actually, when you think about it, it's okay to say, oh gosh, my leg hurts today, my calipers hurting, or my or I've fallen down and hurt myself. But you can't actually say to someone, oh, I'm actually not mentally up to it today, so I'm not, you don't want to say that. So my advice is that if you are suffering, I've put a link to some groups, to some resources down below. The Samaritans, you've got Red Cross as well. Find someone to talk to. And my last piece of advice is, remember, you've only got one life. Okay, you deserve to be happy, and don't let what other people think, or you know what other people say influence you or influence your mindset. There's one thing I do that's actually been worked quite well for me, is I completely don't care what people think about me. I don't care what they say about me. I live my life according to my own terms. If you like this content, please give me a like and also subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to turn on that little bell notification. And before I go, let's go through my daily mantra, which is stay positive, stay fighting, stay brave, stay ambitious, stay focused, stay strong. Mentality is everything. Thank you very much, and God bless.